Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. It's 2024. This is the fourth year of this podcast. And yeah, baby. It's an exciting year. I'm feeling really good about this year. My new music video, Safe Spaces, is out. So make sure to check that out on YouTube. It was my birthday yesterday. I'm 49. Some of these podcasts just get thousands of views. So send me the money, everybody. Venmo @Jeremy Gloff 5399. Everyone send $1. If you watch this podcast every week, show me the money, man. Because, I'm trying to decide if I want to do season 3 or not. So, patreon.com, Jeremy Gloff. I'm a busy guy, but I do like doing this podcast, and I love all my friends here. So, how's everyone doing?
Good. Happy New Year.
We missed Jim. So, at the end of this episode, I just talked over everybody. I'm sorry. At the end of this episode, Jim's going to recap us on Christine McVie, just so we can have it for, completion.
Prosperity.
Yeah, prosperity. But these are the tried and true Phonogenics bands. Jeffrey's kind of a crossover. He's been in the Prince. He was in the Madonna. You were in the Janet Jackson, right?
Yep. And I want to say I was on the Lana Del Rey ones.
Of course you're on the Lana Del Rey ones.
Wow.
Now, I hope you can make it next week, because my favorite Janet Jackson album is her most recent, and I'm just going to cry the whole podcast. Give it a chance. It's her best album. Unbreakable. Unbreakable.
I think I'm a huge Janet fan. I think I've listened to it once.
Oh, you have to listen, really.
I will listen to it again, because I do. I love her.
Please. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And I don't say that lightly.
No, I know. That's why I'm going to go.
I just cry through the whole album. It's so deep. It's her best album, better than Velvet Rope. Unbreakable. Okay, but tonight, folks, we are here to talk about Lindsey Buckingham's second album, Go Insane. But before we do that, let's just go around the circle and everyone just say something. I don't know. Jim, let's start with Jim.
Okay. Well,
say anything.
I'll cut to the chase. I didn't write anything down about this, but I remember, I think I recorded this off the radio like everybody did back then on the cassette, played it. I played it a lot because it was pretty radical, pretty kind of groundbreaking. And it was, it was part of that soap opera. You like the solo projects because you kind of catch up with maybe some of the soap opera nuances. And then I was probably in a record store, and I picked up the cassette later, and it's up there on the wall if you can see it, the sleeve from it.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's kind of what it was. Just I liked it, and it was pretty groundbreaking, pretty very electronic. But after hearing Tusk and stuff like that, I'm not surprised what kind of project this was.
All right. Well, we call him Dr. Larner, but I don't know do you actually like that or do you hate it?
Ambivalent.
I love it. I feel like we've branded you. That's Nathan. Nathan, where'd you even come up with that?
Nathan.
I don't know, but it just feels right.
It feels right. So, a Phonogenics all-star, Dr. Larner. Steven, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing well. I think when I think of this album, I think of how cutting edge it was when it came out, and how much I really enjoyed all the risks that he took with his production. I know I complain a lot, about the more recent material and how it sounds kind of like it's stuck back in this time a little bit. So I liked this style when it was brand new, but I thought he should have evolved more over the years, and he kind of stayed in this style a little bit.
Right.
But that's just my opinion on it. And I love this album. And there's other I don't know, it was just, I had never heard him speed up his voice and harmonize with himself so much.
Yeah.
And now when I hear it, I'm just like, oh, he's already been there and done that. But when I heard it back in the day, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Right.
Yeah. And I loved the CD when it came out. Or when I discovered it, which was a few years after it came out.
Well, next we have making a special guest appearance. I'm so glad you're here, Jeffrey. We've been friends since 2008, I think.
Something like that.
So we've been friends for over 16 years in real
Introduced
life.
me to Jill Jones, which is like dreams can come true. Because when I was a kid listening to Prince and never ever thought I'd ever get to meet Jill Jones, let alone become her friend, let alone have her one day say, "You should meet my friend Jeremy." And then here we are. I just love that.
And you got to see us sing on stage together at Lucky Chang's bar in New York City. Oh,
yep.
So freaking cool. So what do you think of Go Insane? What's a little history?
I definitely like, because I was such a big Prince fan, I was definitely thinking like, wow, he's really trying to become Prince right now. Like with the song, like with the drum machine and it being all funky and way more out of, his other solo album had some funky moments, but like it wasn't the norm. Whereas this album, I feel like it was much more like, let's try and be funky, Or maybe that wasn't what he was going for, but yeah, I'm of the members of Fleetwood Mac, of course, I love Christine. I would say Lindsey's probably my favorite member, and so I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you can make it for Out of the Cradle next month.
I know that's my actual favorite Lindsey Buckingham record.
You know what? We'll make it work. We'll figure out a day when we can all be there, because I can't struggle through this album, through Out of the Cradle, like we did the Christine.
So good. Well, so like just like you love that Janet record, give Out of the Cradle another chance.
You know what? Let's make a deal. If you do Unbreakable, I'll Out of the Cradle with all my heart. Okay. Up next, and anyone here that wants to be for Janet Jackson, this is the finale. It's the finale of Janet Jackson. We did the whole discography. Up next, my favorite person in the Pacific Northwest. He knows every house on Google Maps where everything Stevie Nicks ever did. He'll be like, I know this house in Phoenix where Stevie once had a pair of shoes. And this is but anyway, Nathan, how you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to see you guys and nice to be here. This album's new to me, so I had to pick up some. So I had to, listen to some new tracks today, which was fun. So I knew the hits before, and now I know the rest.
Cool. Well, I miss you when you're not here. I think you were bowling last time, and I'm glad you're here with us. I miss all of you. When the chain's unbroken, it just feels like the Fleetwood Mac Time album. I'm just kidding. Actually, love that album. You guys won me over on that one. Jeffrey, that's when you joined this one, was the Time album, wasn't it?
I know, because my schedule's so crazy that like I missed like, all the Fleetwood Mac ones somehow. Because I would have joined all of them. I love discussing Fleetwood Mac. So
I emailed our Time discussion to Becca Bramlett on Facebook and she ignored me. So
interesting.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Becca.
He's so busy.
He's so busy. I know.
Oh yeah, she's a careerist.
If you're watching this, girl, no disrespect. You probably are busy, but we showed your album a lot of love.
We're busy too.
I'm so busy. Okay, in the bottom left, right, she's been with the Phonogenics since the first podcast of Stevie Nicks. You've been with this family from the beginning. I always love you being here. You went into the Joni Mitchell family once, and you're like, "That's enough for me, not my scene."
Well, they were all very, very technical.
They're very technical.
Holy smokes!
I love every one of the families, but they're totally different, and I love that I get to be like stepdad to all these different weird families. But Alicia, how are you? Talk about Go Insane. Blah blah blah.
I was trying to read your shirt.
Oh, it's my Joni Mitchell.
It's the
JMDL, the Joni Mitchell discussion list. So that's the group I kind of got to weasel my way into like years after the fact because I have this podcast. So they were nice enough to let me in the, as they call it, the creamy inner circle.
Okay. So, well, I am like Nathan. This is, besides his hit Go Insane off of this record, I got to listen to this for the last month. For the first time. Hey, you're laughing.
The enthusiasm in your voice. Like, I got to listen to this for the last one.
Well,
Do tell.
Well, the first time I listened to it, I was actually doing, oh, wow, cool. But the more I listen to it, it's like, yeah, so this is probably not the record to pick up 40 years later.
Very dated.
Yes.
System.
It doesn't help that this is just me. I'm not a big Experience album fan, so I'm not a Pink Floyd fan. No offense, they're great, but that's not my cup of tea. And that's what this is like Experience. He's wanting you to go on a journey, and I'm over here trying to figure out the journey. And I'm saying, yeah, now I know why you called it Go Insane, because it makes no sense to me to some degree.
If you want to figure out the journey, read his ex-girlfriend
Carol
Caroline Harris's book, because it explains this album to a T.
Yeah, it does. And she was pissed about
and
it too.
This album is great. It's, well, as we get song by song, any of the bits that we remember, we should talk about, because they're very interesting.
I love that book. I don't know how much ever I believe, but I believe her like 80%.
So,
yeah,
okay,
I mean,
so that is what I need to read to understand this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as a Fleetwood Mac fan, like, I think you'll love it just because she was there through the Tusk tour, if I remember right, and she had a lot of gossip in there, a lot behind the scenes. All right, so as I was, anything else, Alicia?
Oh, no. I mean, I'll start asking questions, or
okay.
This is one of those records where it would be really fun to see him take this and do it all guitar instead of all of the studio magic.
Yes.
Well, when I was listening to it, these are my initial thoughts. Like, I did buy it when it came out in '84, but I feel like Lindsey really wanted to like be punk rock with Tusk. But I'm like, Lindsey wasn't punk rock. He was like a new waver. Like, this album authentically felt really, truly experimental in the way he always wanted to be. And I thought it was such a blueprint. Like, oh, this song sounds like how he was on Tango. Oh, this song sounds like a blueprint for something he did on Say You Will. So I feel like so much of the Lindsey Buckingham post 1984 sound all goes back to this album. And there's a song on here that I'm like, this sounds like it could fit with the Thompson Twins. Like, it was so 1984 synth pop, and I loved it. I would have loved an alternate universe where Lindsey totally went electronic and like put the guitar away. I know he's a guitar god, but I feel like he really like branded himself as like a rock, like, you know, with the Say You Will, he was like doing the guitar solos. But in another lifetime, he could have done some really trippy experimental electronic albums.
I'll bet he would have had this album been more successful, but this album was pretty much a bomb, wasn't it?
Mediocre. I think it charted like in the 30s.
Yeah, and I mean, Go Insane may have done. I definitely saw the video around when it was out, but like the other single, I don't know if it was on the radio.
Isn't there 3 charting singles on here?
Slow Dancing was definitely on MTV a lot.
Slow Dancing was a single too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I heard that one on the radio a couple times, but not much.
Yeah, so I knew this before Fleetwood Mac.
The interesting thing about this album is I feel like, as far as like a marketing, he had a look that was unique to this album. Like, if I see a picture of Lindsey, I know that it's the Go Insane era because the way he had like the big hair.
Yeah.
And I love when an artist has an era. So move over, Taylor Swift. Lindsey Buckingham had his eras too. And like the suspenders, if you remember, like he was really in the pop universe because this is when he did We Are the World that year. He had the same hair. He was on MTV. I feel like this album, remember at the time, nothing Fleetwood Mac did sounded like this album. Now later on with Tango and stuff, he did stuff that sounded like this album, but he really could have forged a solo career that was totally separate from Fleetwood Mac, a whole different sound, if he would have kept going in this direction and then did the other stuff on Fleetwood Mac. So, you know, I love Stevie Nicks. She's probably, I love them all. But Stevie and Christine, their solo albums don't sound that far removed from Fleetwood Mac. I guess Stevie gets a little bit more rock.
Well, a lot of Lindsey's later stuff sounds like Fleetwood Mac stuff. This album is very much a departure.
Right. If he would have stayed, like, he totally could have created a really unique solo career if he would have
But it's
stayed.
interesting because, I mean, obviously, because he was in Fleetwood Mac, he probably had access to all the hottest equipment and, the hottest. I mean, did Richard Dashit produce this record?
No, I don't think so. But
No,
he did get the
No, he
Fairlight
didn't.
synthesizer, which was like the hot
Oh, yeah,
thing
the
at the time.
Fairlight.
he
Because I
didn't.
think, like, I mean, to have made something that sounds so dated. Because, like,
Dashit
other
didn't-
artists that
sorry.
dabble, like Prince dabbled in techno, and it doesn't sound super dated. Whereas this is like,
I don't know. I want to melt with you. I don't think that.
Dashit didn't produce this. I just read the Wikipedia a little bit ago, and on it said that that they had agreed that he would produce it after he was done doing a Mick Fleetwood solo album, but the sessions for that took longer than expected. And so when it came time to start working on this, he said he turned Lindsey down due to burnout. And I
wow.
thought, that's very Gen Z of him, isn't it? With the burnout ahead of his time. Can you imagine turning down Lindsey Buckingham offer? Hey, come produce my album. Oh, I can't. I need rest.
Well, by this point, they were
Apparently
like,
that's what happened.
friends.
However, he had previously produced the first Buckingham solo album, right? So he'd kind of been there, done that, maybe, and didn't need to feel the
Even
need
further
to
down that
again.
trail, can you imagine missing a Lindsey Buckingham album because you're producing Mick Fleetwood's Not Me album?
Yes, yes.
I have that
So
on
that's the
CD.
answer
I've
to
never listened
did
to
he
it.
produce it? And I think in that
It's
same
good.
article, it references somewhere where somebody asked him what his response is to the critique that the arrangements are too busy.
Right.
And his response was that it was maybe a fair criticism. Of course, he said it in his typical Lindsey speak, so he had a couple of $5 words thrown in there. But he said it was maybe a fair criticism, but that it was a result of having access to these new machines. I think, Jim, you said it, the Fairlight or the Fairline or whatever
Right.
it is, and it's all these different, 600 different sounds it can make. And so he kind of got, caught up or carried away with that, or, started having fun with it. And that's what you hear reflected in arrangements that are maybe too busy, as some have said.
It's interesting in 82, 83, 84, like these artists that we beloved got a hold of the Fairlight and made these crazy albums because Kate Bush did The Dreaming, which was so different than the ones before it when she got her hands on the Fairlight. Then she did Hounds of Love, where she like kind of fine-tuned. And then we have Lindsey here with Go Insane. So the cover, of course, is his, branded Go Insane look with the suspenders and that hair, which
my girlfriend said, could he look any more angry? And he does look pretty pissed in the picture.
But remember,
the songs are pretty bitter too, actually.
If you bought like Star Hits magazine or Smash Hits, like there were Lindsey like pinups. So he was like transitioning for a minute to like 80s pop star edge of the universe. And after this album, they went in different directions. Because he was working on a solo album, then they talked him into using those songs for Tango in the Night, right? Is what that story is. And then every album thereafter. All right. Well, let's go into the track by track. Does anyone have anything they want to say before we go into these songs? Jim?
Yes, I was watching some interviews, and Lindsey said this was like a combination of that new technology, the Fairlight, and a folk album. So it's like it's the bones is a folk album, but what you hear is kind of like really, something new.
I remember when I was 9 years old, I was shocked that there was a naked woman on the back cover. It's sitting in a chair. See, Lindsey's always trying to get people naked on his album covers. First on Buckingham Nicks, now on Go Insane. And on Tusk. On
That's
Tusk,
funny.
there's topless.
That's a pattern.
Jeez, Lindsey, pig. All right. So Go Insane starts with a song that was recently featured on the TV show The Bear, I believe, in the most recent season.
Okay, good.
Because I'm like, there must be a Buckingham fan that's putting the music on the show, because that wasn't a single, was it? I Want You? I Want You. I always felt this song could have been a hit. It's so catchy.
One more.
And go ahead, Jim.
Yes. They've been using Tusk in the college football in the commercials, and probably other commercials or other content. but it's the Vobro, it's like a Airbnb service, and Tuska's all the way through it.
Damn.
The music, not no vocals, but that's cool.
All right, so let's start our discussion for the song "I Want You." I feel like this could have been a hit. It's catchy. I love all the '80s. It's almost got a video killed the radio star, like with the vocal effects.
I guess.
Doesn't sound like anything Fleetwood Mac had done prior to this at all. Lindsey Buckingham, the solo artist, has arrived. He's realizing his dream of being experimental. Here he is. I love this song. I loved it in '84. I love it in 2024. It's a good sing-along. Of course, he has the Fairlight alarm clock. Like, I remember when I was starting off recording albums, every sound effect, like, I had to use this airplane sound. So Lindsey had to use the alarm clock. What do you guys think of this song?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I like
the
the
first four tracks.
On.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say the first four tracks I think on this album are really solid. It's probably his best run on his solo albums of songs you don't want to skip and jump around. It's just really good melodic stuff. What were you saying, buddy? I cut you off.
Oh, nothing. I was just saying I like the beginning part. It's pretty cool with all the sound effects and his echoed voice and all that kind of stuff.
I feel like this started off so great, and then it went so bad with My Little Demon on the dance. Like,
that was not the wisest decision.
So Alicia, hearing the song for the first time, and Nathan, when you get back, what did you guys think? This is not secondhand news.
No, it's not. No. I mean, generally speaking, this is a good album. I mean, it's a solid record from him, but yeah, side A I think is better than side B. I did like the DW Suites personally. That and Go Insane are probably my two favorite, and Slow Dancing.
Okay, cool.
My three. But this is a good song. I was surprised to hear the alarm clock. That wasn't what I was expecting, but it's Buckingham, so but it was very interesting hearing the alarm clock, and then at the end of the DW suite you have like the bells tolling.
Oh yeah.
So like,
oh cool.
So
yeah,
it's like a
pretty
bookend sort of thing. So it made me feel like, is this trying to be like a whole day that he's trying to do? You wake up and you
okay, that's very observant.
See, Alicia, look, we are keeping you around, girl.
Yeah.
That was what I was trying to figure out with this experimental. But then you have Slow Dancing, Dancing in the Moonlight, what is it, Play in the Rain. So I don't know, it didn't fit like the time frame, so that was where I was. But the first song, it's really, I like it. It's an upbeat, fun song. I wonder if this would be better, me listening to it in June and July with the windows rolled down.
I think
it just seems like a fun, summery sort of album. There may be a lot to it, but listening to it, there's a lot musically, but it's not Stevie Nicks, let's discuss theory or so
Stevie who?
Huh?
Right.
No, just kidding.
Nathan, what did you think of I Want You?
I liked it. It's new to me, so I'm having trouble remembering it right now. But I read once again on Wikipedia that, thank you, Jim, that there's some argument as to who it's about. Maybe it's about Harris, or maybe it's about
and that it could go either way for sure, because I Want You could be like, I wish Stevie Nicks was on my solo record, and also he kind of still wanted her maybe romantically, but also he was breaking up with Caroline Harris around this time. They were really going through a a patch, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of the references, especially some of the nastier ones, are aimed at Carol Ann, I think.
Lindsey dedicated this album to Carol Ann Harris.
Was that him being bitchy, kind of?
What?
Because they're broken up, right?
Yeah, this is
They broke up right when Tango in the Night came out, because the song Caroline is him basically saying Carol Ann in a different way.
Yeah.
So Jim, what did you think of I Want You? Do you have notes for all the songs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The alarm clock is a cool way to start an album. I thought that was pretty neat. And I thought the first part of the, like the I Want You part, and I Have for So Long, I thought it was a little creepy, like in a stalker sort of way. There are parts of the song that sound like a Jim, those Jimmy Fallon skits for like with Adele and all those guys in a real small space, and they're playing. It's a lot of that music sounded like that. It sounded like the toy instrument thing with the Jimmy Fallon with just xylophones and shakers and whatnot. It really reminded me of that. It's got fabulous guitar work at the middle and the end. So, I mean, it was quite different, when unboxing for the first time, hearing that sort of style from the beginning of the album.
Isn't it interesting that Go Insane, and then the next thing we got from the Fleetwood Mac camp was Rock a Little. So, I mean, this is the 80s deluxe.
Yeah.
And that record sounds pretty dated as well.
Right.
Which is interesting because from being in such a big band, you would think, I mean, I don't know, like Prince was using a lot of these instruments, but his stuff doesn't sound super dated. It sounds pretty timeless. But this record, if you heard it, if this came out today, you would be like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That sound was important for them, though, because that pulled like people from my generation in, because that's the kind of music we were listening to. We didn't listen to Rumors.
Right.
That was old person music to us.
And Steven, a lot of people from the 70s did not translate into the 80s. So the fact that our Fleetwood Mac really did, like, think of like Jackson Browne. He was so huge in the 70s, and he tried to do like those electronic-y, politically things. Maybe they got a little play, but by 85, you never really heard from him much again.
If music changes again, that could change how you listen to this song.
Right.
Because I remember Rumors and the Fleetwood Mac album sounded terrible when I first heard that. I couldn't believe it. It just sounded old and
dinosaurs.
And it kind of switched around, like the 90s kind of brought that sound of music back.
Yeah,
that's stayed in flavor.
Right.
And now that sounds better than the 80s stuff, which just sounds god awful to our ears today. Right?
Kind of had something to say.
After Nathan's comment, I looked up the lyrics of the song, because if you're wanting to talk about could it be about Caroline? Could it be about Stevie? I sleep alone. It's all I can do. I want you right now. I'm a bundle of joy, a pocket full of tears. Got enough of both to last all the years. I live alone. It's all I can do. And I mean, that could go either way.
Either way. I feel like the 80s was also a decade when people had really good songs called I Want You that weren't hits. Because did anyone have Debbie Harry's Rockbird album? The opening track was I Want You, and it's such a freaking good song. No one even knows it here. I'm going to have to go to the Blondies.
Because Madonna has an album that opens with I Want You.
She does! Something to remember. So does Debbie. Oh my God. All these I Want Yous. I'm going to make a playlist.
There's probably more. I wonder if there's a thing. It's a thing.
Well, all right. I Want You. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Any other? All of us are in agree. We are agreeing. We're starting off 2024 in agreement about something.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Amen. Okay. Song number 2, Go Insane. It was a hit. It was on the radio. It was on MTV. It only charted like in the 30s, but in my memory, it was around a lot more. So I don't know what the charts mean. Jim, do you want to start this one off?
Yes, it charted at 23.
Okay.
On like Billboard, the single, and the album was number 45 on Billboard. So it wasn't like a smash, but it wasn't like a bomb either.
That's a peak.
A what?
That's as high as it got, is 45?
On the album sales, yes. Like first week, probably. You notice that a lot of great albums just simmer low, and they just build. Rumors was that way, or the White Album too. They just simmer, and they stay at the top for like the whole year. Um, you know, and everybody wants that. They want maybe start slow and then tour with it. That doesn't happen much anymore, but
Right.
um, that's the dream for a band, to have something that it catches and grows and grows and grows, and it's a wider audience than you ever dreamed of. So, okay, on this, it's a very Tusk-like feel to it. That's what I think. It's a very good blend of new and older recording technology, a catchy 80s type pop song. The video was nominated for MTV Most Experimental Video. If you ever seen it, it's kind of wild. I like it when he came right at the first. Lindsey comes in with a box, a little white box, and he's shaking it to the music. The click, 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 click. That was kind of cool. Other than that, it was in the primitive technology, the CG. I don't know if they call it CGI, but putting images on the screen, you can tell it was just really a very compared to today, where they can almost make what do they call it, where you can make something that looks like the normal person talking.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's AI, but it's getting scary, where you can almost make something that makes someone saying something really awful, but this is, it looks very dated, that video right now, but I mean, that's kind of, well, a lot of the Thompson twins did a lot of that imagery too. They would put a big old rabbit in the scene and everything like that. So, it's of that time, at least the video. I think this song, I think "Go Insane" holds up musically. It's a pretty good pop song, and it's still pretty catchy to listen to now. It's a pretty well formed single.
I remember on the dance, because of course he reinvented Big Love as the version we all know now. But I remember he also did Go Insane as an acoustic version. That one wasn't on the original special, I don't think, or it took a little bit longer for me to hear that. And I was so excited to hear the acoustic version of Go Insane. It actually was underwhelming to me. I like the album version better.
That's that's the bathroom break during the show.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a
bathroom break. It's fine. I mean, he would back to back Go Insane with
Big Love.
Big Love. And I think people kind of got a little bit like, man, I gotta, I think it's fine, in a musical sense, but as when you go to a show, you kind of want a lot of emotion, a lot of heartfelt stuff. But
I thought the Go Insane was gonna have a lot of energy, because the album version is pretty energetic. So I thought like Big Love is gonna have like, oh, he's gonna do something on the guitar that's gonna translate that energy, but it was just kind of sluggish. Like, I don't know. I was not there for the acoustic version.
It did work because it gave everybody else a chance to get back and just
Stevie was going to get her Gold Dust Woman shawl.
Yeah, I mean, that's great about Fleetwood Mac in that period, where they're getting older and they put on a tremendous show, but they kind of they spread it out, where it gives a chance for everybody to kind of shine. It'd be like,
they used to do that so they could do Bottle Caps of Cocaine, which you learn in Carol Ann Harris's book.
Well,
but you learn in Carol Ann Harris's book. That's right.
Okay.
Okay. To the now, Nathan and Alicia, you guys had heard this song before, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on this?
Well, the album version, I mean, I like it, just like you said, it's an upbeat tune, and it's a nice. I enjoy it. I prefer more the acoustic version.
Really?
I do. It's more dramatic, in my opinion.
Okay.
But,
For sure.
yeah. So I mean, he really builds it, and it's a chance for you to see his chops on the guitar.
There's no problem with that.
Yeah, no, but it's just him. It's one of those things. So yeah, I like that version more than I do the Go Insane album version. But the album version is still really good. I was repeating it 2 and 3 times as I was listening to the record over the last couple weeks. It's probably so. I mean, yeah. And I guess you can. Well, the lyrics are. I always think of the lyrics. There's 2 people in this world, winners,
Okay, yeah.
losers.
Yeah.
And it very interesting way. And then what's the second?
I like the I lost my power in this world because I did not use it.
Use it.
He's probably looking at some That's
makes you wonder what he's talking about.
He's talking about how Mick made them go commercial on Mirage. That's what he's talking about.
Right. Or not going, doing Tusk Part 2. Like
I don't know if it
really
I think it probably refers to a relationship more than the professional. I could be wrong about the power thing and not using it. It could be a bunch of things, but I think it's more of in a personal relationship thing.
All right. Do we have any other thoughts on the song? Now, let's not forget the inside picture. That's classic Lindsey 84.
That's Steven. A great shot.
This was like the first. So when I grew up in the 80s, and I wasn't, I knew Fleetwood Mac, but I had no idea who any of the members were. So I had, and I knew Stevie Nicks' solo stuff, the hits from the Belladonna record and Stand Back. But like, this was like my first introduction to like who Lindsey Buckingham was. So hearing this song for the first time, I remember loving it. And my brother my brother being 3 years older than me, absolutely hates the song. And I'd want to hear it. And we spent a lot of time together. So it was like,
cool.
I couldn't play it because he didn't like it. And, so I had to listen to it like in secret. And it was just sort of a fun little memories. But thinking of the lyrics, I mean, the reference to rumors also, which could be a dig at Stevie Nicks or could be a dig at Fleetwood Mac. With Lindsey, I definitely, especially like what I know about him now, I mean, some of the bitterness that he has about the frustration that, he was kind of the brains behind Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks is the star of Fleetwood Mac. I know that must just fucking eat at him because he seems very much like he should get the credit for making them what they were. But that's what the vibe I get anyway.
Jim, and then Steven wanted to talk to.
There's some lyrics that weren't in the lyric sheet at the end. It was like there's several lines of vocals together, and there's like a ooh ah, and it's like always using you or always losing you at the end. I don't know what he's saying because it's not in the lyric sheet. And it sounds like different. It's not the original, it's not the lyrics from the lyrics are only like 6, 7, 8 lines on the song, but there's some things at the end that are not in the lyric sheet. And I don't know exactly what they are,
Blue suede shoes. I think one of the things he's saying
always losing you, always, I don't know what it is.
Blue suede. Steven, what did you have?
Now I want to hear it.
I just had 2 things I wanted to say. Like, I guess this applies to the song and the album in general. I think it's a lot of fun, which is different, and that was important to me when I got into this music. And it has a lot of energy. I like those 2 elements in my music. And the other thing I wanted to say, because Jim was talking about the video, the video is dated and it's of its time, but he wears it well. He looks very comfortable in his performance in the video, so I think that really sells it.
Yep.
Where you have other people like if you look at the sisters from Heart, like they look so uncomfortable in all of their 80s videos. Okay. And you see other people who are done up to look current, but they look out of place and uncomfortable.
I think he probably did mostly the entire thing on green screen or something. Yeah. With maybe a prop. I don't know. I have to look at it again. He might have been in some little studio stuff, but there was probably a lot of green screen things added.
He's very natural. Like he's really good, actually. Very photogenic.
This was a genuine thing, a genuine move for him. This direction.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna do a little side rant here because I just opened up the can of worms here, Steven.
Oh.
But for all the fucking hours and hours and hours that Ann and Nancy Wilson bitch about the 80s stuff, if they wouldn't have done those albums, they would have never had another hit after 1979, Straight On For You. And they had no problem collecting all the paychecks from those 80s hits. So I feel like they should just shut the fuck up.
Okay.
It was the 80s.
I have a heart story too from that on that note.
They're embarrassed. They're embarrassed. They have to, kick some sand over it somehow. They're embarrassed.
Dude, there's no reason to be embarrassed.
If it weren't for those 80s songs, I wouldn't be a Heart fan. My favorite Heart song is These Dreams. My second one is
that's
How Can I Refuse?
Turned it down.
Okay.
Sorry.
What happened?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I remember. Yeah, I think it was Straight On To You was kind of like their last of that old era, right?
You never hear Stevie Nicks be like, "Oh, I put down rock a little." Like, just own it. Own the 80s, girl. Go ahead, Jim.
One note on Go Insane is there's a 12-inch version.
Oh,
I don't know if you all know that.
What I'm gonna say.
Been forever, but I've heard it.
I'm sorry, Jim. I interrupted you.
Years and years.
Yeah, that's fine. I kind of compare it to Aerosmith, what they did in the 80s and like maybe the early 90s. They had I actually got that on vinyl. I think it came in the Columbia House, was for somebody in the family. And I can't even remember the name of the album. And it was pretty crappy.
Pump in
No, this is before the 80s.
Oh, okay. Heart or Aerosmith?
Yeah, Aerosmith.
Oh, okay.
But they had their classic era, which is the backbone of them. But they did, I don't know, they did great material. After they had a massive drug problems in the band, and they were like disappeared for like 5 years. But I compare Heart's work in that era and Aerosmith together, where they could have been. I think they went commercial, and you can tell they sold out, but it's a lot better than a lot of other stuff out there. Having Ann and Nancy on the screen and being great musicians. And maybe, and like even Starship and all that. And, it's better than a lot of other things that could have been on there anyway. So
I'm going to wrap this up so we can get back to Lindsey Buckingham. But if Ann and Nancy are so upset, they can return all the money they made from all those albums I bought.
Okay. So did they say something recently about that?
They're always talking about it. Oh, the 80s.
Yeah. Well, it made them, it probably made 2/3 of their money in their career, I would think.
I have one final thing to say about Heart in the 80s, then we're going to move back to Go Insane. No umbrella, no coat. Remember how she sang that and All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You? Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Go Insane. I give it 2 thumbs up.
Okay, yeah, it's good.
Everyone's poo-pooing their 80s stuff. We're here in 2024 because you're 80s stuff. So give me my money back if you're that upset about it. Okay. I'm fired. Do you guys like the new 2024, Jeremy? I'm back, baby. Slow Dancing. It was the second single. The video was on MTV sometimes. This song reminded me, for some reason, you all are going to think I'm crazy. It gave me vibes of Thompson Twins' We Are Detective. Does anyone remember that song?
I love that song.
Doesn't have
a way better song than Slow Dancing, sadly, in my opinion.
I love the Thompson Twins. I would do podcasts on some of their albums. Even though
I know their stuff. I love them. I do that.
Okay. Well,
That Sidekicks album and Into the Gap and Here's the Future Days. Oh, they're so good. Okay,
That's
Slow
enough.
Dancing.
Back to
Singing
back.
like in a creepy voice, like it's Halloween. I like
I
Slow
actually like
Dancing.
the song, but I was like confused that it was not that slow to be called slow dancing. And it's super dated. I mean, I do like the song, but it's very dated and it's like it's almost a what the fuck moment.
Really? I feel like
I
it's like 1984. Don't be
mean,
Anna
it
Nancy
sounds
Wilson.
like it just sounds like, I mean, again, for someone that could have afforded the most expensive gear, it sounds like he bought the cheapest thing he could find and was like, let me put out something where it's like, you know, almost like how Leonard Cohen would play like the Casio, and it would be like, you know,
Oh,
every other
geez.
version of that song is great except Leonard's version.
Oh, I don't know. I don't agree with you on that, buddy. It sounds super dated, but it doesn't sound cheap.
Okay.
But that's opinion.
There is nothing worse than late 80s Leonard Cohen, because my best friend Ann Fearman listened to that shit. And I tortured her. I made her listen to Joni Mitchell in return. I'm going off on a lot of tangents. Jim, get this podcast back on track. What did you think of Slow Dancing? In the Moonlight.
I'll go.
Yes, Jim Miller.
Yes, it's a romantic song in a very direct way, and it's the second single that didn't chart. The bass line is quite prominent. It goes boom, 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 boom. It might not have been a bass; it could have been electronic, but still. The video was, there was a video for this, and like Going saying, this is pretty catchy.
Yeah. I feel like he holiday roaded this album, like just came up with the hooks. He brought the hook, the pop hooks.
If I recall correctly, didn't like Carol Ann and him like used to go dancing or something like that at night? And it was like because like a lot of the songs on this record are about like directly from his life and what he was doing with whoever at that moment. I want to say that this was something related to like he used to make her go dance, like she used to make him go dancing or something like that.
I could see them like dancing to Missing Persons or over in LA, like that 80s new wave.
All coked out.
All coked out, totally coked out. Dale Bozio's Hustler magazine right on the coffee table. Okay. So Alicia, this was your first time hearing this album. Had you ever heard this song before?
Not that I can think of. I like the groove. So it's really good. The groove and him singing.
The bass.
Yeah.
Yes. Dancing in the moonlight. Yeah. The question I have is at the end you have like 20 or 30 seconds of like it's an acoustic guitar. It sounds like Spanish.
Oh, right at the end.
And it doesn't flow in very fluent with the next song track.
Oh, okay.
But it made me wonder what that was doing, because it doesn't really go in with
That's what,
the body of the slow dancing, and then it made me wonder what happens if he did slow dancing with that more, and he did it more the way he sang slow dancing on the record. It seems more like a rock sort of thing. I wondered if he did it more like serenade, sort of much more romantic with that.
Yeah, it felt more like coke dancing at the club. Nathan, what did you think of this song being new to it?
I like it. One of the things that when I saw him live a couple years ago, he did this song, and I can't quite remember how it starts on the album right now. Anyway, when they do it live, they start it with like just the bass player, and it builds up real slow to the full instrumentation of the song. And I didn't know it was this song. And the song that I thought he was about to cover was that song that I don't know who sings it, called Abracadabra.
Oh, Steve Miller Band.
Grab you. And I was sure that was the song they were about to start playing.
Yeah, that's the same.
But it's interesting. Somebody said a moment ago that it didn't chart, and I'll tell you what, the people at that concert, they knew it, and so people were, So I like it. I think it's a fun song. It's kind of the instrumentation, some parts almost make it feel a little silly, but I like it. It feels very gothic and sort of, and it fits Lindsey Buckingham well, because what else is Lindsey Buckingham going to do? Bump and grind? He can be slow dancing, right?
Right.
He's not only is he not going to bump and grind for the obvious reasons, but also that would be like it's like not it's not like deep enough for Lindsey Buckingham. You know what I mean? So he's got to be slow dancing. So anyway, so I like it. And whoever made that point a minute ago about this is a really good like 4-song run. Totally agree.
Yep.
Front of this album really shines, I think.
Okay, do we have any other thoughts on Slow Dancing?
There's a 12-inch version of this also, which is
Ooh.
just mostly different, or like extended music. Nothing super exciting. Whereas Go Insane has like sort of extra vocals.
Okay. You're the one that told me about the 12-inch versions of the Tango in the Night stuff, weren't you? How Stevie does.
Right.
Yeah. I love that Little Lies. I know I talked about it for like 10 minutes at the podcast.
Yeah, with all those weird, because Stevie was not around during a lot of those sessions, so they must have just had little bits that they turned up for the remix.
The mid 80s was sure a gold mine for those extended mixes.
Oh my gosh,
with
yeah.
more of the music and taking the song and stretching it out, as opposed to just creating a different backing track and throwing the vocals over it like they do now.
For my next single for my album, we're doing a video that's gonna be like kind of weird. And I made a video mix like the 80s. I'm like, I need to extend this song by a minute from the album. So I totally did it 80s style. But anyway, Slow Dancing, I give it 2 thumbs up. I like it. Are we still agreeing on things? My goodness. Who are we? Are we the same podcast? Okay.
I'll wait till the second half.
The 80s continue. Is this one? I must go. Where she's talking about, hey, little girl, leave your drugs alone. Who's he talking about there?
Is directly about Carol Ann Harris.
Yeah.
All like apparently she had a cocaine problem, and I guess he was maybe onto pot by this point, and she was like messing up or kind of being sloppy, and he was like this was like a warning to her about drugs, but could have also been about Stevie, because this was around the time she was going to rehab. Yeah. So it's interesting how so many of these songs, and not just from this album, but from many of Lindsey's records.
We're only a couple years from that Red Rocks concert, Hunter. So Stevie was about to put her hair this high and wear those sunglasses and go to Red Rocks. So I like this song. It's very 80s.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah. You liked it?
Yeah, she's about to peak.
Alicia, what did you think of this, hearing it for the first time? And then Jim, we can go to your notes.
I liked it. I wish it was maybe a minute shorter, but
oh no, I like
but I mean it's good. It's not bad per se, but it's one of those, I felt like I was hearing, it's time for you to go, over and over and over for like 3 minutes. I was like, okay.
So just go for real.
Yeah, like, okay. Stop talking to me. Go.
Jim, I know you got some good notes on this one. What did you think?
Yes, I got a funny joke I just thought of. I think this would be good if it was a video where the video is just a washing machine turning. I think some of that music kind of matches up with the feel of clothes turning around. So
you guys remember that Pretender song? Watching the clothes go around. No. Okay.
Yeah. I really like this. The music is very cheerful, while the lyrics are pretty dark. The Little Drug lyric was unsettling me because I thought it was about Stevie Nicks. And this was before the Red Rocks. This is before Rock a Little. I think she was doing an interview or two on MTV, and then she wasn't looking right. And the Jim Ladd Wild Heart interview, where if you guys ever heard it, I mean, I just had a feeling that this is a person that's just going to take some sort of dive.
She did.
That she wasn't ground. There was just something wrong. And okay, I'll just drop that. And okay. And Caroline Harris said this album is a lot of, she said that there's a lot about her, and she had a hard time listening to it because it was like, about her. And I think this, the song reminds me of something, I don't know which particular song, something the Culture Club. It has a Culture Club sound to it. When I just listen to it, it's just, I don't know, it's just something. It's of that time, and some of the textures are just,
I love me some Culture Club, you guys.
Yeah.
Those first few albums, and some of Boy George's solo stuff. I still buy his shit. He just released his third autobiography. How many does he need to write?
I know. I actually ordered it.
I did too. We're gonna do it for our book club.
Well, yeah, man.
That's like not going to be true because he released the true ones when he was on drugs and needed the money. This one's going to be a polished version. That's like, whatever.
I'm better now. Where is
though?
Jim, do you have anything else to finish off?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Oh.
Nathan.
No, I'm done.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible that that there was any that Lindsey had any sort of idea that he was going to not be a part of Fleetwood Mac in the future after a certain point, or on future albums, if certain behaviors from other band, maybe this was sort of him trial floating the idea that he must go from the band.
Okay.
In other words, and when I listened to it just today and the other night, that was something I was left thinking about.
Okay. I saw some, I watched a little bit interview clips from that time. And he said he wanted to jump right into the next album. But then the interview asked about Fleetwood Mac, but he said he was willing to go with Fleetwood Mac when it was like the right time.
Right.
And, he didn't want to make something contrived. He didn't want to just do it because they had to do it. It had to be, and, he bailed on the tour on the Tango, but he did the record. I said in the Tango podcast about this album, really, a lot of the things, I don't know, technology or feel, it made the Fleetwood Mac more the modern. The Tango's a pretty modern sounding record compared to Tusk and Rumors and whatnot, but it really helped. I really felt it really helped Fleetwood Mac going forward.
Oh, of course.
But Lindsey blew out his aggressions and stuff on this, and then he took some of what he learned into the Tango project.
I definitely feel like Go Insane was a blueprint for a lot of the stuff on Tango in the Night. Like he refined it.
And getting back to the I Must Go, thing, I think, like how Freddie Mercury was kind of like thinking very cocky that his solo career was going to be bigger than Queen. And then he kind of came out with a dated sounding record, and then he kind of, with his tail between his legs, went back to Queen. Maybe Lindsey Buckingham was thinking this was going to be a massive hit, saying I must go. And, because a lot of his lyrics, I do think, have double meanings, triple meanings.
Yeah, it does.
Because he really is a freaking great songwriter. I mean,
he is.
Deny that, he knows how to write like even Go Your Own Way. I mean, there was when I was younger, people used to say it was about becoming a lesbian, or be going your own way to be gay.
Oh,
which, I mean,
I've never heard that.
I don't think it could be further from that.
Right.
Based on, that it was about Stevie. But if you really think about that, it could. And so the fact that it can mean such very different things, it just shows what a great songwriter he is. So perhaps I Must Go was related to that as well.
What if in another universe, Go Your Own Way was about becoming a lesbian?
Well, can I just clarify first with Jeffrey? Was that sort of like your interpretation
No, I heard it from like
that
I
was
heard
a
it
thing
from
that was out in the
people like
culture
around
and stuff.
and
Really?
not knowing any different because I grew up in the 80s and I wasn't around for when the song actually came out. And then years later, when I became like a Fleetwood Mac obsessive and learned all the real truth about what their lives were like, then it was like, okay, but that it's not a lesbian anthem.
A lesbian anthem.
I was gonna
Getting
say,
tough, getting muffs, all you want to do.
That's funny.
Jeffrey, when did you first hear this album?
In 80, was it 84, 85, 84?
Okay, so it was fairly new.
Yeah, but I was like 8 at the time, so I mean my music knowledge was not super great, and
Gotcha.
a lot of the classic rock people like Bruce Springsteen, I had no idea that he had a career in the 70s, and
Right. He did.
Lindsey
He's the one that did good in the 80s. He did
the
good.
first David Bowie song I ever heard was "Let's Dance," which is if you
David
were around
Bowie did good in the 80s.
when he was new, everyone hated "Let's Dance" because it was like so pop and commercial and so unworthy of him. But I didn't know any different.
He made so many fans from that, though.
I know, but then like you know, can you imagine like years later discovering that same guy did fucking Ziggy Stardust? I was like, what?
See, I would take "Let's Dance" over Ziggy Stardust any day.
I don't even know Ziggy
Stardust.
Speaking of Heart is covering "Let's Dance" in their set right now.
Oh, really?
It's not good.
Interesting.
Well, you'd think that they wouldn't do anything from the 80s since the 80s were so bad that they had to let us know for the last 20 years. I'm going off the rails on this podcast. Am I entering my rock little era?
We've now officially talked longer than the record.
I know.
okay.
Any other thoughts on "I Must Go" before this song must go? Did I leave anyone out? I give it thumbs up.
I really like this one.
Okay, we are going to combine
Yes.
"Play in the Rain" and what is it? "Play in the Rain"
Continued.
and
Part 2.
"Play in the Rain" continued. Because I remember this is where you flip the vinyl over. So that's why they did the two different things. This is now Lindsey, for years he's wanted to be experimental. Like, he did Tusk, which I don't feel like Tusk was as quite as far out as he might have thought it was. I guess
it was far out for their sound.
Yeah, for their sound. But I feel like "Play in the Rain" is this is definitely an experimental song. If you want it, you got it. Here's Lindsey being experimental. He's got some weird synthesizer stuff. Let's start with people that heard this for the first time. I want to hear the first timers. Then we'll go to the veterans.
Okay.
Alicia and Nathan, what did you think of "Play in the Rain"? Having never heard this before.
Is Nathan going to make me go first?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even know if is he here?
Oh, he's here.
Yeah, he's watching you.
Oh.
Alicia, you must go.
Pull out something deep.
Yeah.
I'll go if you
It's
want.
not that much deep that I can pull out. I prefer the B side of this if I had to choose out of the two. The first one, it's like the plinkling, and I don't know. I know that he had fun experimenting, but that just had a lot of eeriness.
Yeah.
To me. So it just kind of, in my mind, when I hear "Playing in the Rain," I think of something fun, kind of, and so it's like the question I had on this was all the special effects. It was like pouring water, and so wonder why didn't he not try to recreate like maybe the rain falling down on a roof or on a window instead of that.
He was getting his money's worth out of that Fairlight.
Evidently. Maybe they didn't have that special effect.
Didn't have that sample.
Yet. But that was the question I had as I was listening. I liked when it had the drop beat. And it almost had like an Irish feel to it. I almost felt like he should have had a fiddle in there when the drop beat came in. It just really made me think of like folk Irish music. When it really starts building up and everything. So yeah, that's, but I mean the B-side one, it had everything. It was more of the full package instead of
right.
So yeah.
Well, Nathan, what did you think of this?
Are we talking about part 1 or part 2?
Both. We're doing the total package.
Both. Okay. Well, I thought I listened to it on YouTube and I read the comment, and the first guy, main comment on the video was like, "I am high AF and this song is blowing my mind." And I thought that was pretty funny because it
That's so good.
I can see how that could happen to someone in that
That's funny.
condition. So yeah, I agree with definitely experimented on the first half. The second half reminded me of some things that were maybe happening, and so my awareness of it is that it happened maybe in the mid to late 80s, and starting then, sort of the Steve Vai's, Joe Satriani guitar stuff.
Okay.
And so part 2 of this really sounded like his him shooting his shot at that, I guess, and that would have been pretty early of what I understand that sort of trend started. So that would have been, you know what I'm saying, Jim? Like, in other words, maybe hit its peak with some of the early 90s stuff. So for him to do that in 1984 would have been sort of tip of the spear of if that's what he was going for at all. So I liked it a lot, and I didn't go back and buy every song off this album on iTunes to have it in my own library, but I did buy this one, part 2 of this one, because I thought it was pretty cool. So
I kind of like how he split it up into side 1 and side 2. I mean, he could have easily put a different song on side 1 and then had the whole thing on side 2. I kind of like when albums do funky things. I don't know, it keeps me engaged. So let's go. Jim, I know you got your notes. So let's do your notes next.
Okay. Well, at the front there, it sounds like Lindsey's enjoying himself a little too much while playing in the rain. There's some like groans and panting and stuff. I mean, okay. And Lindsey unloaded his toolbox on this one. Lots involved here, and a lot of sounds, lots of intake, lots to take in. Yeah, and this was in the cassette era where you would flip it over and then it'll start on side 2, and yeah, the ending was pretty intense musically. It's pretty, you put it all as a full unit. It's it's kind of slow at the first and a little disturbing, but it really finishes. I mean, he used his toolbox, and he entered that toolbox on this thing.
Can you connect the part 1 and part 2 if I got the sound files? Could you just connect them into one song?
I wonder. I
They
bet
merge, right?
I bet there might be versions of that on like YouTube. Someone
Kinda
probably
like-
just
Kind of like you and I,
back in
part
something.
1 and 2.
Oh, this reminds me a little bit of Fighting for Madge and the Fleetwood Mac, where
Oh yeah,
they made that split. They made it 2 different tracks, but one was like 8 minutes long,
right.
and then there was, I don't know, it was Fighting for Madge
And searching for one was fighting for
Madge,
Yep.
and then Fighting for Madge.
Yep.
And that's a jam, and this is kind of close to that. I don't know if the idea came from that, but it kind of reminded me of that.
All right, well, let's move on to the middle row. Do Dr. Larner or G have anything to add to this?
I would
Epic.
just say that if you put all of Fleetwood Mac, all the songs that Lindsey and Stevie have appeared on in chronological order, this is the first time in their catalog you would go, what the fuck? I just felt like he was like, I'm gonna press every button and hit record, and it's a masterpiece. But I pretty much love every solo track that Lindsey has done. This last half of the record definitely has like the few Lindsey songs where I don't like.
Okay.
But I mean, it's like, I mean, in the grand scheme of like hating, I'd rather listen to this than like Cardi B. So we have our levels.
Steven, anything to add?
I have to say, I agree with you. I check out in this song and I'm gone for the count. There's moments I like from here to the end of the record in all of the songs, but there isn't another like solid song like the first four to be found here, I don't think.
Actually, I do like Loving Cup a lot, I have to say.
Got a good chorus.
Well, Play in the Rain, parts 1 and 2, I'm going to give it 1 up and 1 sideways. I don't know.
Kind of same here.
I'm going to do sideways, but on the downward slant, because I mean, it's pretty ballsy to put out a track like this when you're Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that, but it just, the execution of that plus some of the other moments in this record, not so great. The enthusiasm is there, but the execution.
Stevie was Go ahead.
Don't you feel like in the 80s, like if you had 4 good songs on one album, that was a masterpiece?
Absolutely. There's so
because
many...
I bought so many albums that were just filled with garbage. Like one good song, the one you heard in the radio, and that's it.
And I've thought about this, and it's like, like, how can I'm trying to think of a band, like, you have such a good, like, Culture Club or no, maybe not them, but like, Thomas Dolby. It's like, She Blinded Me with Science, so great, and then like the next few songs, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Did he only have enough like budget for like one high production, and then the rest of it, they were like, well.
That's how I felt about New Shoes. Remember, I Can't Wait was such a song. The rest of the album was garbage.
That's a great example. I Can't Wait, such a great song, and Point of No Return, such a great song, and then it's like.
Did you guys get An Emotion by any chance?
That's another one.
Oh my god! Like, what a departure from the sound.
All right. Well, somewhere the day that Playing in the Rain was released, Stevie might have been somewhere recording the vocals for Sister Honey. So just keep that in mind, everybody, on the timeline. All right, baby. Yeah. All right. Jim.
She's like, hold my beer.
I had a like a rule when I bought albums in the 80s. There's got to be 2 like solid singles, one main, the one you got interested in, and then the next song was up there with it, and maybe a third song that was pretty good. And if it just barely made that cut, I would just go out there and, okay, I'm going to get this.
Mm-hmm.
And then take your chances and with the rest. And usually if there's 2 to 3 good ones, the rest will fit in there and be pretty good. And there might be a surprise that there might be something you'll like the most. So that was kind of my rule in the 80s of buying records. There can't be one friggin' single that's good. There's got to be like the second one and the third one that's, acceptable.
Sounds fair.
Well, moving on through the 80s, we've got through Playing the Rain. Loving Cup. This was a song that had a lot more guitar than the other ones, right? I feel like Lindsey did his normal guitar stuff and then put 80s drums behind it.
Yeah, Loving Cup and Bang the Drum were probably like intended for a Fleetwood Mac album, and then since a Fleetwood Mac album wasn't happening, he was like, well, I'll just use them for myself. Whereas the other stuff I feel like was definitely written for like a Lindsey Buckingham solo project.
Right. I thought this song was more like what you'd expect from Lindsey, but with some different production flourishes. I liked it. I didn't hate it, but it didn't really stick in my mind too much.
There's an interesting lyric that he started becoming self-referential. Maybe this was only the first time I noticed, but he quoted, "I want you, darling, I want you right now," which is the first track.
So right.
And he started doing that again in his some of his like later stuff where he, did some of the lyrics of Bleed to Love Her in You Do or You Don't from Out of the Cradle.
And even DW Sweet had, he was talking about When You Go Insane in the last song on this album. So it's interesting that he's referencing this album a couple different times in the songs.
Yeah.
All right.
I like the song, and I remember, that Carol Ann talked about it in the book, but I don't. There was the line about you and me, we got the magic, don't you see? We fall down, we get hurt, we get up and take a drink from the loving cup. There was something that was directly related to their relationship, and I don't remember exactly what it was. Obviously, they probably fell down and then did something, but she tells that story in her book.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's do Jim's notes next. Let's hear what Jim has to say.
Interesting.
Yes, the lyric "Open your mouth and put out the fire" doesn't leave much to the imagination. That's kind of it's pretty graphic there. Yeah, there was
I'm
back
confused.
in that day. I heard an Oingo Boingo song called "Nothing Bad Ever Happens to Me." I think it was on Friday Night Videos, actually. If you ever remember or ever heard of that, it was the NBC, and they put about 30 minutes. The kind of throwaway time. They'll just put some MTV videos.
I remember that.
I recorded that every week.
Yeah, and I think Oingo Boingo had a song on there that wasn't on the radio, and I thought Lindsey borrowed a lot of textures from that song. 80s stuff, a lot of sounds and stuff from that. It's a pretty intense, fiery track with nice guitar work at the end.
All right. Who else would like to jump in? Anybody on Loving Cup?
Cardinal Sin that line was the one that surprised me. This is, well, I'll keep my mouth shut.
No, don't keep your mouth shut. Say it. No pressure, though, if you don't want to.
Well, this one came off as this was like the sexy song off of the record. Or at least that's what I heard as I was listening to it.
Jim heard that.
Sexy without the Y. Sexy without the Y. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is that. Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way of putting. Yeah.
Lindsay's like, we're not done doing the laces. We're just gonna fuck.
Yeah.
Nathan, what did you think of this song? Never having heard it before. Do you remember it?
Which song?
Loving Cup.
Oh, I remember thinking that this was a high point in the latter half of the album, and it's one of those things. You guys know how it is when you listen to an album and shit, and it's in your headphones and you're doing different things. You get the first half of it really, really well, but then the second half of it you just don't get as good. And so, for me anyway, this is one that I'm going to circle back to. I know I'm going to like it. It's I think the high point of the second half of the album. I don't know. DW Sweet's pretty good though, but I guess we'll get there when we get there.
Okay. Steven, do you have anything you want to add?
An amen. Do you want to start with an amen to what I said? Because that
amen.
Amen.
Once in a while. Thank you. Thanks,
My
Kevin.
church for the week.
I give Loving Cup thumbs up. I'll give it a thumbs up.
Interesting.
Okay, so next we are moving to Bang the Drum. I felt like this was a little Law and Order goes 80s.
100%. That's a great description of it.
Law and Order, put on his Law and Order as filtered through the Fairlight synthesizer.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about this song. Jim, you've got notes. Give them to us.
Yes, it's a great little piece of music. I would like this played in a more traditional form of instrumentation. I think it would go over well. On
Law and Order, you mean?
Yeah. We're getting the same feel for this. It's a good. This song was put in the right spot. It was a good spot for this. The song prior and the last song. I like the choir-like tones at the end.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to say about this one?
Anyone else here? Eyes of the World?
Yeah.
Yes.
Without Christine going boop 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 boop.
Okay.
How does she go again, Jeremy?
Boop, 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 in her little English accent.
Right before she lays an egg.
Well, Lindsey kind of laid an egg with the second half of this album, didn't you? No, I'm just kidding.
What does that mean,
Okay.
Steven?
Sounds like a
Actually, oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, Bang the Drum, I give it sideways.
It's
Thumbs
it's
down.
good.
Alicia,
Sideways going down. Not one of my favorites.
Okay.
Alicia, let us know what you thought.
Well, I guess I was disappointed because when I heard Beat the Drum as the title, I was expecting this to be more of a rock song, with
Just like slow dancing.
drums and the guitar coming out. And so I was like,
It was a metaphor.
Climatic for me. This is much more of a slow.
Very good, Jeffrey.
He's laughing, but yeah. So that it was. It just didn't. It did nothing for me.
Thy drum was not banged very hard.
Did nothing for me.
Oh boy.
Well, Lindsey, we are sorry. We do not like this. We do not love this song.
I like this paired with the last track. I thought the two together is really good.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to this last track? Does anyone have anything else to say about Bang the Drum? DW Suite, another experimental song. DW, of course, stands for Dennis Wilson. So this was about the death of his friend Dennis Wilson.
That's cool.
Yep.
I didn't know that, and it's actually in my comments. So
okay. Well, I'm glad I was able to, for the first time in the 4 years of this podcast, I was able, and someone in the comments can be like, it stands for Dickweed, not Dennis Wilson. Someone's gonna have to argue about it. But I did read that in multiple places. What do you guys think of the song? It's definitely an experimental way to end an experimental album.
It's a three-part deal. It's a three-part concept, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I like the second part the best.
Nathan, do you want to walk us through the three different parts?
Nope, because that's all I know. Because I like the second part the best, and that's all I can say.
I remember the last part was a little Irishy, wasn't it? Just
I just
part is Go Insane. He kind of redoes lyrics with Go Insane. The second part was, it's almost like he's asking for God on high to help. Because that's what I was.
Dennis died already by this point?
Yeah.
Must have,
he did.
What were the lyrics?
Oh, yeah.
The lyrics?
Mirage. Yeah. The lyrics are, if we go insane, we can all go together in this wild, wanton world. We can all break down forever. I want to go forever. It's just a memory. It's just a memory. It's just a memory. Gone forever, gone forever. And then part two is the prayer. The closing of a chapter, the opening of a door brings forth life where there was no life before. I won't be here. I'll be watching from above. Always do you should. Always be good. And when push comes to shove, pray for guidance from above. Shadow all your hopes with love. Live your life without a doubt, outside in, inside out. Pray for guidance from above. Shadow all your hopes with love. Never be afraid, never be afraid. Pray for guidance from above. The closing of a chapter, the opening of a door brings forth life where there was no life before. And then part three is called the reflection, and it's an instrumental.
What's the first part called? Part two is the prayer, and then the reflection.
Part A is the wish, part B is the prayer, and part C is the reflection.
That's cool.
Definitely experimental. Like Lindsey, this is legit interesting. Yeah.
That's way cool. And what's the deal with part three? There's no words to part three?
No, it's that Irishy kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim, what are your notes on this? I'd love to hear.
Okay. This is a very Beach Boys. And I didn't know DW was Dennis Wilson, so that's pretty cool. It's in very Beach Boys, Beatles territory in its complexity and beauty. A rather epic song with a lot of moving parts. The Irish type music at the end is only icing on the cake. This and Bang the Drum fit well together. So I remember hearing this the first time, and it was kind of like, wow. It's just kind of like a little bit of a release, a little bit of emotion, and it's just, wow, it's over and it's cool. And, you feel a little bit, I don't know, just inspired.
To your point about they fit together as in skip.
Okay.
Oh, so okay, G in here with the hot take.
That's sad.
Well, I'm just like it's very rare for me to talk any shit on Lindsey because like I love Lindsey. Like he's like a god to me. So, but I just definitely think that DW Sweet, Bang the Drum, and Play in the Rain were huge missteps.
Oh. Okay. Any other thoughts on DW Sweet? I don't have much to say about. I always say this on. I don't know if I've ever said this on the Fleetwood Mac podcast, but it was 2003. I was at an art show with my friend Rhonda Kay. We decided there's two things in the world. There's art, and there's when someone's taking it very seriously, they're making
That's
art.
funny.
I feel like DW Sweet is definitely art.
Yeah, very, very.
It's art.
With the silent F at the beginning of that.
So I don't have much to say about this. It's just he's making art.
You guys maybe want to check it out again.
Oh, so Steven, justice
Hey,
for
brother.
DW Sweet.
What's that?
I said justice for DW Sweet. Tell us what we're missing.
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
You guys maybe want to check it out again. I kind of skip over it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
skip over it too. Okay.
No, I listened to it, but like Nathan said, I'm checked out by that point. Like I'm doing other things and cleaning the house or something.
Yeah, reading the lyrics just now, it was like kind of a surprise to me because I was like, but I have really not paid attention to this song.
You gotta reach out and grab me, sort of abracadabra, reach out and grab you. That's what that's why that phrase is top
I
of
think-
mind. But what
like-
do you know? I mean, some of his later albums, like the Out of the Cradle album, Jeremy, you shouldn't go into that reluctantly. You're gonna enjoy that. I guarantee it because it's good. It's
It depends
good.
if Jeffrey listens to
album.
Unbreakable Janet Jackson or not.
I'm gonna listen to it like as soon as I get off the thing here.
I don't listen to every
DW Sweet
Phonogenics, Jeremy, but I listened to a couple of the Janet Jackson ones. Those were fun.
They're fun, right? That's a fun crew.
That's a fun crew.
That's a fun
Some of your other crews when they start busting out their own guitars and stuff like that, those get a little long, and I'm like, I can't take a sick day tomorrow, but I almost want to just to do it.
My favorite is like when some of those ones get to 4 hours, I start getting bitchy towards the end of the podcast. I'm like, because
Yeah.
I'm
Heard that.
because if they go too long, like I have to pay more. Like for podcasts, you get so many hours a month, and then if you go over that, like you have to pay more. So I'm like, the people that are talking, I'm like, you're not even on my Patreon. Like my inner queen's like inside my head, but I don't say it out loud. Oh God, we're entering 2000. I'm almost 50, so I can say what I want.
So
All right.
the Out of the Cradle one is one where I don't think you'll sort of fall away in the second half. And I'm curious to know, Jeremy, if you'd allowed it, JG, maybe we can just get a quick poll of the room and see what people thought of, maybe Out of the Cradle on a scale of 1 to 10. And what's the other one? What's his newest one?
Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah, the self-titled one on a scale. And there were some other ones in between, which I am not as interested in, but certainly those two.
There was Gift of Screws. There was
terrific.
Under the Skin.
Man, I have that.
There was one more. What was it called? Sowing Seeds We Sow or something. And that's all of them, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've never listened to Out of the Cradle. Every time I put it on, it just did not catch my interest. So I'm really gonna listen. Jim.
Yeah, out of the Cradle's excellent.
I love that album.
Alicia, have you listened to it?
I listened to the first half of it.
Is it good?
Yes. I can take 4 or 5 of those over this.
Steven, what do you think of Out of the Cradle? You've never listened to it? Oh.
I know the song Wrong is from that.
Yes.
I love that song, but the rest.
So next month's going to be interesting. I feel like we have a good podcast ahead of us. And Jim, I have you to thank for encouraging us to do these Buckingham albums.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Was it me?
Yeah, I think, let's rate DW Sweet. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up because he was ballsy.
It's cool.
I like it. I think it's a
Down.
beautiful
Susan's
piece.
down.
It's very
Are
rare
we
to give a
gonna-
Lindsey Buckingham song a thumbs down, just so you know.
Are we gonna rate it on a 1 to 10 or?
Yeah, we will. But Alicia, did you want to expand anymore? Because I feel like I didn't give you the floor.
Oh, well, there's not much. I mean, I think it's a really beautiful piece, and it's interesting that he kind of, it's like he ended with a prayer. It's almost like he's moving forward, which is, it makes it very heavenly, which it's a great piece, but it kind of doesn't quite go with the rest of the record.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, so, but it's a beautiful piece, or at least I thought so.
All right. Well, friends, what a great. I'm so
Amen.
happy.
I agree.
I'm so happy to see everybody. This
Are we
has been
ranking the album on a scale of 1 to 10?
Go Insane, Lindsey Buckingham, scale of 1 to 10.
Oh,
Jim
no,
Miller. Jim Miller, you go.
8.5. 8.5.
Okay.
Damn, Jim.
Dr. Larner.
Generous.
Back in the 80s, I give it a 10. Now I give it an 8 based on the first 4 songs.
Okay. G.
Even though like I said, I love a lot of the songs on this album a lot. I just think the album overall is really weak. So I would probably give it like a 6 or a 7.
Oh.
But I do like really, I mean, almost every other Lindsey Buckingham album I would give a 10. So
Really?
or at least an 8+.
What do you give Sowing Seeds We Sow?
I really like that record. I think I gotta just double check, but I think like the only song I really didn't care for was like Treason at the end.
Okay.
I have to just look at the
I like
track.
that one.
Are you going to join us for the Buckingham McVie podcast if you're around?
I would love to do all of the like any Lindsey Buckingham. I'm pissed that I missed the Buckingham Nicks one.
Okay.
But like on Seeds We Sow, Stars Are Crazy. Oh, fucking love that song.
That's
In Our
a
Own
good song.
Time. So fucking great. One Take Over Line, great. Gone Too Far, End of Time. Oh, this one that ends with She Smiled Sweetly. What's the one that ends with Gifts of Screws ends with Treason. That's
Okay.
that Underground and Treason are kind of boring.
Is Illumination on that one?
That one is on, I think there's on Seeds We Sow. Yeah, that one's on Seeds We Sow.
All right. Nathan.
Yes.
Go Insane, scale of 1 to 10.
6.5.
Oh, okay.
6.5.
We have 2 6.5s. Alicia.
Wanting you to do me last.
I think you are, except for me.
You laugh. You always laugh. I try to do
You
this.
laugh. You're funny.
But in the best, no one's ever
wow,
laughing at you.
serious.
You're beloved.
No.
You're beloved.
Get ready to do Cat Williams. Do Cat Williams. Do Cat Williams thing.
Well, I mean,
Hit them all.
I guess I would, I don't know, somewhere around 6 or 7, I guess, maybe. I mean, it's a very cohesive record. He does move, and I didn't have any problem letting it flow or play. Some of it just me picking it up 40 years after it was released. A lot of the studio stuff isn't ooh ah wow for me. So it's more like so I was listening more for the songs themselves, like the structure, and that's where I kind of fall. And it's tough because I know that this record was probably more cutting edge and cool. I mean, and that was what made me ask to myself, commercial versus art, because I don't
Art.
Well, you can say art, but Yeah, I don't see this record being one that gets picked up 40 years later, like Rumors or anything.
There's not gonna be justice for Go Insane.
Yeah, no, but there's a couple good songs. I think DW Sweet is great. I think Go Insane is a good solid pop 80s track. Slow Dancing was good. And then you have a couple that I think are which was the first and Love and Cup. Dancing in the Rain, it's like me listening to Stevie's Street Angel, or it makes you want to sit there and go, well, what about this and what about that? You know, you almost want to wish you were the artist yourself. So yeah, I guess a 6. I would rather have 3 or 4 Out of the Cradles than this, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I like the 70s stuff.
Well, I'm gonna give a hot take for my rating. I feel like when I listen to a Thompson Twins album, when I listen to something from Expose, Taylor, like when I listen to people that were part of the 80s, they didn't do much before or after that was as widely known, and we kind of put them in that time capsule. We just love it. So I feel like in a different time and place, Lindsey Buckingham was this 80s solo person. If he just did this album and I didn't know that he did Rumors and I didn't know he came back and did The Dance, I would have just loved this album for what it was at the time. And I love it as an 80s album. I give it an 8.
Okay.
Both of you are spot on.
There's probably maybe there's an alternate multiverse reality where he is the fucking rock god of the 80s.
Because he was coming out with that hair
with
and
his suspenders and his eraser head hair.
Yes. That was it was a time and a place. And I'm just erasing the before and the after, and I loved this pop Lindsey with the Fairlight. So all right. Well, for those that don't want to stick around, you don't have to. But we missed Jim on Christy McVie, so he's just gonna fill us in on his notes.
Okay.
Anyone's welcome to stay or jump off. But Jim, we did miss you last month, so we'd like to
jump off because I need to eat dinner.
Eat dinner. I'm gonna eat some chicken wings after this.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
I will see you next Tuesday. Don't make plans. We're doing Unbreakable.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
All right. I won't hate you if you don't make it. Bye. I'm so glad you were there.
Yay,
Bye, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye, girls.
See you next time.
All right, Jim, I'm gonna put myself on mute and just let her rip. Jim Miller is gonna fill us in on Christy McVie.
Okay. I thought people would interject. You can interject.
Okay, we'll interject.
Can I?
Yeah, because you weren't there, were you, Nathan?
No, I'm not sure what we're doing.
Christy McVie's
I'm not sure.
1984.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Pitt.
Yeah,
good. I have notes. Sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Okay. I remember hearing this album on the. Wait a minute. I recorded this on off the radio. You know, I was excited, and I knew they were going to play it. This is when radio stations would play an album, you record the whole thing. And my first reaction to the album was, I thought it was a bit dry and pedestrian. But as I played the album more, I warmed up to it a little bit more. And later I bought the cassette. And when I bought the cassette, I was like charged like a way below the list price on the cassette. And I told the cash register or cash lady that that's not right. And she, like, with one stroke, she clipped it, and it was like $1 or $2 more, but it was still below the price. And it's kind of like I didn't want to cheat Christine out of the money. I know that's not how it works, but I felt, geez, she's not worth $1. She's worth more than that. And I thought that was kind of funny. I remember that.
Jim, I'm going to interject and say my copy of Go Insane that I bought on vinyl like 2 years later was a cutout. So that album went to the cutout bin very quickly. Okay, back to Christine.
Okay. Got a Hold on Me was number 10 on the charts. I'm doing the chart stuff. Love Will Show Us How was number 30 on the Billboard. And the album Yeah, it peaked at 26 on the Billboard album charts. So it did a little bit better than Lindsey's record, but those two kind of, they had the marginal success. Okay, Love Will Show Us How. To me, after listening a few times the other day, a few weeks ago, it is sort of like the anti-rumor song. You think of rumors being the subject matter, and this is more up and positive, and and it's like I just said, it's up and positive. It's a song about trust and commitment, which is kind of like so anti-rumors. I like the lyrics in the song, and it's bright, and it's bright and positive. The challenge, uh, Eric Clapton on guitar. It's very, very prominent, a very nice, it wasn't like a blazing guitar, but it was a very nice work by Eric Clapton. Uh, Lindsey Buckingham with effective vocals at the end. It kind of weaves in at the end.
I love his little vocals there. He has a nice little touch.
Yes, well put together song. Christine keyboard and piano work. I love.
Uh-oh, did Jim freeze? Or is it me?
It froze on mine.
Well, let's pause the recording.
We're back. Yeah. Okay. Lindsey with effective vocals. It really adds to the song. I think he says like "so lonely" or something. And I love Christine's piano work. The song slowly builds in intensity, and Christine, her vocals are strong, and Christine, strong and convincing vocals. Okay, and so excited. It's the most country, rockabilly song on the album. And then of course then you go to the liner notes. It's Billy Burnett got a writing credit on it, so it's got his kind of style on it.
It kind of reminds you of that one song that was on Behind the Mask, right? That they did together at the end of the day. What was the name of that song they did? When the sun goes down.
When the sun goes down.
Yeah. It's in that vein. Yeah. And I hear some
about that video I sent too.
Yes.
Sorry, Jim. Please continue.
Yeah. I hear some accordion. I wonder if that's Christine playing that. I think it's accordion.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think it's Christine.
Yeah. A nice and up and positive song. Lindsey guitar credit. Christine, she has some nice piano runs on it. This is a band song. One note I watched that where they did that live show that was put on MTV. I think there's half of it on YouTube, but that's a very tight band, and it sounds like the album. They're very professional, and they when they played that live, they pretty much stayed with the emotion, and actually sometimes it's better live. There's some shows that are on the Christine's Ledge. They put up whole shows. I need to run through those again. Let's see, 1 in a Million. Steve Winwood takes turns on vocals and quite effectively. It's an ominous rocking song about warning a friend to keep the relationship. It's kind of like someone looking at two people with a relationship, and it's kind of like, if you don't want him, I'm going to take him, because I kind of like this dude, and because I'm interested. And it's pretty much it's a lot of these songs, they don't grab you right away, but once you look at the lyrics and the sentiment in it, it kind of teaches us a little bit about what people go through in life. Ask Anybody. Yeah, Steve Winwood again, backing vocals, piano and synthesizer, and he co-wrote this with Christine. A nice, pretty ballad about doubt, about a relationship, but wanting to stay in that relationship. And I wrote here, Higher Love Around the Corner. That, you remember that big hit, Higher Love by Steve Winwood?
This comeback was right around the corner.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that song.
It's a very...
Don't forget Whitney's cover, too.
This is... Steve Winwood is a very blues...
I'm sorry. Who's cover?
Yeah.
Whitney Houston.
What? Has cover... Oh, okay. Thank you.
After she passed away, it came out... They like remixed it as a EDM song, right? A couple years ago. It was good.
Whitney Houston covered Higher Love?
Higher Love, yeah. It's really good.
Oh, wow.
Everyone check it out.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, to go back to Steve Winwood, this is a guy that was Spencer Davis. I mean, just a big star and everything. And Christine admired him and probably had a little bit of a crush on him. You know, I don't know if there's anything there, but he's like an old... I'm just happy when like Bonnie Raitt came out in the 80s too, you know, late 80s, and had a great career there. And Winwood had a good run there, and it was legitimate. It wasn't contrived. They came out with good material, and it was real. But it was nice to hear like in a soulful blues voice on the radio, and a really good like modern music with it. And I thought that was a real good piece. So, okay, Got a Hold on Me. Yeah, definitely the right choice for a single. Very good pop song and very catchy. Signature Christine McVie playing on this. She doesn't need the Mac either. I thought this was kind of like, hey, you know, everything busted up. She'd probably be viable and still, you know, still can, you know, have a career.
Jim, you'll appreciate this. I saw a video the other night. Somebody's, you know, I don't use TikTok, but I think it was from TikTok reposted to some other social media site. You know how that goes. And the video was of it was taken from overhead with Stevie walking underneath, and there were, you know, probably a dozen people or so around her and stuff, and she was sort of in the center, and while she, you know, of course they play her music everywhere, I guess. Apparently it was one of the cool things about this video. And the song that they were playing while they were taking her out, and she looked up and waved at everybody and everything for a minute. The song that they were playing while they were taking Her Majesty out to her fucking Escalade or whatever was Got a Hold on Me by Christine. In the speakers, out of the loading dock, in the back of the venue, cranked up, you know, was that song. So
what year was this, Nathan?
Cool. That was fucking like 2 weeks ago. Less.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. Okay. I love something from Christine's solo album getting some airplay.
What's that Got a Hold on Me like placed over the footage?
No, it was what they were playing over the speakers.
Oh, that was in real time.
Yep, in real time.
That's pretty cool because Stevie would play, I don't know, okay, I have to see that. But Stevie would play the roughs from Mirage, like the Wild Hearts situation. So she liked the other solo projects.
And let's not forget, like in the iconic Stevie Nicks dressing room Wild Heart video, she was singing Love in Store a cappella before she went into Wild Heart.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yeah. Okay. Who's dreaming this dream? Christine had no part in writing this, but
boring.
It's okay. Okay, I get that. I get that.
Who's dreaming this dream?
Okay.
You said we can interject, Jim.
Yes. Christine had no, part in writing this, but makes it her own. I mean, she pulls it off. Lindsey's vocals he gets a credit, but it's here somewhere. I didn't really pick out his vocal. An effective ballad, at least for me, because the first 4 lines brought me feelings I had for Stevie Nicks at the time. You know, when is she going to make her album, next album come out? Now, it's kind of more of a professional feeling I have for her. It's like, you know, it's like I think Stevie promised that Rock a Little would come out in like 84 or, you know, and then it's like it didn't happen. And then and this came out and it's fine. But it was kind of like, who's dreaming this dream? Is she just like, you know, you get kind of worried about something that's not happening in real time. And, you know, when is she gonna get the next album done? So, and I was, you know, I legitimately missed Stevie, and I was I was legitimately worried, and I had good reason to worry because of all what happened at that, you know, the Red Rocks is a good example. I Am the One. Todd Sharp wrote this mid-tempo song with some cringy lyrics, but Christine does her best to smooth them over. Pleasant guitar work at the end. Keeping Secrets. Once again, Christine didn't write this. A nice song that fits this album. I like Christine's keyboard work, good guitar work. Reminds me of, for some reason, it reminded me of a Genesis type song from that era. Because they had like the Rutherford, you know,
I hear that in there.
Yeah,
yep.
You know. Okay, The Smile I Live For. Okay, this is the only song that. Okay, this is good. This could have been Fleetwood Mac. This could have been
Jeremy.
No, it's a good song. This is a good song.
This could have been a good Fleetwood Mac song. So, you know, to end it. Only song on the album Christine wrote by herself. Beautiful ending ballad.
Which song? What's it called, please?
The Smile I Live For.
Oh, okay.
This is with the Lindsey solo at the end.
Yeah.
Let's see. Beautiful ending ballad. Eddie Quintella, her, you know, they didn't marry. They, her, what do you call it? Better half or whatever. On some keyboards.
Oh, Eddie was on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
was that his first appearance in the Fleetwood Mac universe? Because he'd play a big part later.
Yes, he wrote a lot of stuff on Tango
and Time too,
then,
right?
In Time, and you know, he was a big part of the. He kind of changed how her songs sounded different when he was involved. You know,
yeah, in a good way too. Like I loved
in a good way, and it added. You know, it was a good thing. The drumming is good on this. Lindsey, great solo at the end. So that's my run through.
All this talk about 80s just makes you think, what do you guys think the most 80s Stevie Nicks, like what's the pinnacle of her Rock a Little? I think it's If I Were You. And if I were you, I would take the love. So when Christine was recording The Smile I Live For and releasing it, Stevie was in the vocal booth doing the vocals for If I Were You. Okay, Jim, what do you give Christy McVie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, I give it like it's in between the 8s and 9s. I got to think of. I like to put a point, you know.
Be exact, please be precise.
8.2. I mean, it doesn't blow you away, but it's kind of a musicians kind of record where you know, the professionals would like it and they would, you know, enjoy it, but the public does too. They don't, you know, it's a pro album. It's, you know, it's not to really. And Christine, I watched there was a lot of her interviews from that time, and she wasn't, you know, she was excited. She was actually talking about this album, making this album during the Mirage tour. There was an interview I just discovered today.
Interesting.
And it was an 82, like an 82, 83. I think late 82. And she was talking about the structure. I'm going to get together with people and other people are going to write. And it pretty much turned out the way she envisioned it.
There's one thing I forgot. There's one thing I forgot to say in the Christy McVie podcast. I'm so glad I have this opportunity to bring it up, because when you think of Fleetwood Mac in the mid '80s, you think of Stevie Nicks with the big hair, you think of Lindsey Buckingham with that hair, but I forgot to mention the Christy McVie side ponytail.
I saw
the whole Christy McVie 1984 era. She always had the side ponytail.
I saw. I've watched some clips today, and there was most every time in an interview. There was one interview. Ponytail. There was one interview. I think it was in '82, and something I may have never seen before. A lot of times she'd be doing interviews with some wine, and she'd be a little tipsy and a little loose, and that's fine. But I just noticed on this, she was very sober and funny, of course, and very honest. And she talked about her stardom and not being, I'm not going to have I'm not the one to have the huge ego and all that stuff. But it's a good little clip. It kind of showed kind of what she really is. And there's some rumors footage where she's just, the wine's going and she's kind of, and this one was pretty sober. It was pretty cool. They talked about having kids and stuff, and very serious stuff.
That's what a side ponytail will do to you.
You should send those around, Jim. I could always.
Well, they're just what I would
YouTube
type in is Christine McVie 1984 interview.
I've probably seen it then.
That would probably, and you can write 82. This is how I try to find stuff. I would type in the year, and like Lindsey, I saw some new ones today. I was doing a quick. I had an hour before this, and I was just going to get kind of in the mood. And
hell yeah.
And Lindsey talked about it was a folk, modern music thing, and
there's like 10 seconds of folk on that whole album, the Irish part.
Well, I'm talking. I think it's more of the sentiment of it.
Right. All right, friends. Well, I'm hungry for some chicken wings. Jim, you got your say on Christy McVie as promised. Yay. I just want to say I'm excited to spend another year with you guys. I feel like I love the moments we share together.
What's next and when?
So these are what I have on the upcoming agenda, and then I'm gonna take some time off and decide if I want to do a season 3. We will see how things are looking. But for the rest of season 2, we're gonna finish off Out of the Cradle. Then we're gonna do Chris McVie in the meantime. Then we're gonna do Buckingham McVie. And then Steven had the idea just to end the season, which is an episode where we just talk about. What was your idea, Steven? Just talk about Stevie Nicks and stuff.
Yeah, I just want to have a free-for-all where we can all talk to each other.
We need to do that.
So let's end the season with a free-for-all.
More, but I forgot what I said. I'll look it up.
Jeremy, I can send you any small amount of money, as small as $20 or $50 or however little I want to send you, right? You don't mind small amounts of money, do you?
It's not the size that matters. It's the
that's what I do. That's what I see. I thought
biggest lie in all of mankind.
Hey, thanks to all my Patreon subscribers, some that are here. Thanks to all the YouTube subscribers. You know what? This is the year that Phonogenics is going to go viral. It's time for people to find us. We are. Yes.
Yeah, if you let me start fucking muting people and. I would never.
This could take, especially as people get older, and boomers, and they reflect on life, and they'll just run across this, and it might get shared,
right?
And it might. Well, there's the hope.
The thing is, and I'm not throwing shade here, and I shouldn't even say this live, but I listen to other music podcasts, and they're so dry. Like everyone's just kind of saying the facts, off Wikipedia. And I love our podcast because we're talking about the feelings. Like, how did this make you feel when you listen to it? What's your life
If I wanted to
story?
watch
How does it pertain?
VH1, I would go watch VH1, right?
Right. So
I take this. Yes.
much love to you guys. I'm glad we're all friends and
Okay.
our paths crossed. Yes, Jim?
I take this pretty seriously when I do this, and I try to get, sometimes I get wrong information, of course, but I try to make it like I try to catalog this stuff,
Right.
for future reference from anybody that's interested, and I try to do my part, and it's a bit of work, listening several times, and then you find something funny, you find either you make a joke or something poignant. So that's kind of my take on this project we've been doing.
Cool.
And are we still are we recording yet?
No, I'll pause it so we can say goodbyes.
Do you have any timeline for our next what is it, Out of the Cradle?
Yeah, I do. Let me wrap up this episode, then I'll give you guys the dates. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. And thank you so much for watching.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a good birthday this year. I'm really feeling good about this year. And thank you to our friends on the ledge, some for loving or hating us, depending on your mood that week. All right. We will see you next month for Out of the Cradle.